Okay, so this is a video on adding rotation to your notebook. So now we are on page 7. Okay, so on the pieces that you hopefully picked up from the office, you have your graph paper, your transparency, and if I hold up my hand here, a brass fastener. So what you're going to do first is you are going to attach your graph paper. Well, maybe I should say first, you're going to write rotation at the top. An example of a rotation is just a turn, or another word for rotation to help you here is a turn. So what you're going to do is you're going to tape or glue this graph paper, again, to your notebook. Have it so it says initial side is pointing to the right, okay? So you're going to attach this. What you're going to do second is you're going to move the notebook for a moment. You're going to take your transparency with your brass fastener here, and you're going to poke the brass fastener through the center of that circle so it looks something like this, okay? Then, after you've got this done, then you're going to go to your paper. You're going to poke the brass fastener through the origin, which is the center of your graph, and then on the back sides of your notebook, you're going to flatten that fastener out. Maybe you want to put some tape on the back of it too so it doesn't catch on anything. Now the reason that we do that is so that we can illustrate a rotation. Okay, so next we're going to actually fill out this rotation piece a little bit. Okay, so you're going to bend the transparency back. Don't rip it, just bend it back, and somewhere in this first quadrant I want you to draw a triangle. Okay, and you can label it however you like. If you like dogs, maybe you're going to call it D-O-G. If you're into cats, maybe you're going to call it C-A-T. I'm just going to go generically A-B-C. Okay, so draw a triangle somewhere in that first quadrant. Okay, next, with your transparency back down here, make sure that on the transparency that says terminal sides, make sure that lines up to the right on top of the initial side, right here, as accurately as you can. And then with some type of Sharpie marker, I want you to trace over the top of your triangle. So notice I traced over the top of mine in green, okay? You could have whatever color you like, whatever works. And we're gonna label it, this is A prime, B prime, and C prime. Okay, so again, now you can physically see, if I rotate it, you can see how it's moving, okay? So for my visual learners out there, this will be, I feel like, a very beneficial piece for you. Okay, so next, we're gonna label our graph, and then we're gonna add some rules as we go along. So I need you to have 2 different colors here. Maybe I have green and black. Maybe you want, again, 2 different colors, whatever colors you want to choose. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to, like I said, label our graph. So let's start with one color, and we're going to talk about how it moves clockwise. So if I've got green, I'm going to write clockwise in green. Whatever color you're writing with, you're going to write clockwise first. So if I don't rotate at all, I'm at 0. So I wrote 0 degrees. That's when I haven't moved at all. Okay, now again, we're going clockwise. So that means we're going to go this direction. This is clockwise. Think about how a clock moves. So if I move it downward here, it's pointing straight down, I moved, you can see it here on the graph, 90 degrees. Notice I have it in green still. The clockwise was in green, the 0 was in green, and the 90 is in green. So if I move it 90 degrees clockwise, that's how my graph would shift. Up here in the first quadrant, now down to the 4th, okay? So if I think about it, again, back at the beginning, now instead of rotating 90 degrees clockwise, what if I go all over here too? This would be 180. So notice I put over here, 180. So if I start again, here originally, now I move over here, notice my triangle shifted from the first quadrant now down to the 3rd. We can visually see how it's moving. Okay, and then one more time, if I start the original position and I shift past 90, 180, I'm up at the top here. This is going to be 270. Again, I'm going clockwise. So I went down to 90, 180, and then up here at 270. And then finally, if I start at the beginning and I rotate all the way around and go back to the starting point, I moved 360 degrees. So again, on my picture, the green is all clockwise. Now the other direction you can rotate is counterclockwise. So with your other color, you're going to put at the bottom here, counterclockwise. Okay, so I wrote in black for the other one, so I'm going to put counterclockwise here. So just like clockwise, if you don't move it at all, 0 degrees counterclockwise is 0 degrees clockwise. They mean the same thing. So this is 0 over here when I haven't moved at all. So remember, counterclockwise, you're going to go the opposite direction that a clock goes. So if I go from here up to there, what did I move? I moved 90 degrees counterclockwise. So notice black on my picture meant counterclockwise. So at the top, black means counterclockwise, 90 counterclockwise. Okay, so as a connection here, going 90 degrees counterclockwise is actually the same as going 270 clockwise. They're going to get you in that same position. Okay, so next, if I start at the beginning and I rotate all the way over here, I did 180 degrees. Now, so I put 180. Now, 180 counterclockwise is actually the same as 180 clockwise. They'll do the same thing. 180 is 180 either way. And then next, if I start at the beginning, I go to 90, 180, now down to 270. So notice in here in black, I have 270 because I went counterclockwise. So again, 90 degree clockwise is the same as 270 counterclockwise. And then last but not least, if I start at the beginning and I go all the way over here to the beginning again, I went 360 degrees. So a full circle, a full rotation around is 360 degrees. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to add some rules that we already have covered in some of the videos and some of the activities we've done already. Okay, but let's start. I'm going to focus on counterclockwise because that one maybe is more consistently used, especially as you progress into taking Algebra 2 later. You'll see that. So let's focus on just the counterclockwise. So if I move 90 degree counterclockwise, do you remember the rule from the video? I'm going to write the rule at the top here. So if my point had the coordinates of x, y, remember how it changes? It becomes negative y, comma, x. So if you think about my points, notice my C over here was at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. Okay, let's just do an example below it. So if C was 7, 2, notice where C prime, let's go 90 at the top here. So notice here's my C prime here. It's hard to see. Notice it's at negative 2, comma, 7. So we can visually see how the point moved, as well as talk about what the rule is going to be. Okay, so now if I think about it again in the original position, now if I rotate it over to 180, again, thinking back to the video, do you remember the rule? So remember it was, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to write this here. Where's my tape? So I'm going to write it, I'm going to bend it back so I can write on the paper here. So my rule, my point started out as x, y. Remember it moves to negative x, comma, negative y. They just change signs. So if I think about it, remember my point C was 7, 2. Okay, so C prime, notice over here, is now at negative 7, negative 2. Okay, so we can see our rule at work. And then next, we're going to do the 270 degree counterclockwise. So here's my original position. I went 90, 180, now down to 270. So do you remember our rule for 270 degrees counterclockwise? So if my point was x, y, remember now it turned into y, negative x. So if I follow with that C concept again, point C was at 7, 2. Okay, C now is at 2, -7. And again, maybe I should point out, if you want 0 degrees or you want 360 degrees, notice nothing changes. So if you were at XY, it's still at XY. Your point was at 7, 2, it's going to stay at, or it's going to end up at 7, 2. So hopefully, again, this helps. So if you are a rule person, you can always look back at these rules to help you with your problems. If you are a visual person, you can always take a marker and take a pen and plot your original point and then do the rotation and then see again how it moved.